So today I have a Marantz 2230 receiver. I have no idea what's wrong with it. I am going to be looking at this one today and see what's going on with it. So let's start by doing a pre-check inspection, pre-repair inspection on the unit to see whether it's functional and whether it works or not, and try and find out what's wrong with it. So I don't know anything about the history of it. I was just given it to me, and the fellow that owns it would like this one repaired. So let's take a quick look and see what the symptom is. Now, because I don't know the status of the amplifier, I'm going to test it with headphones first, because that'll give me an audible indication as to whether we may have an amplifier problem or whether we've just got a problem with dirty controls or what the problem may be, without putting risk my speakers if there was a DC voltage on the outputs. So let's turn the unit on. And well, right off the bat I can hear static, and I can hear that the controls are very dirty. If you listen, let's see if it will actually tune any radio stations in. It does sound like it works. Yep, it's working. Actually, so the only thing it sounds like that's wrong with this amplifier is that the volume control is dirty. Even all the other controls sound clean with the headset. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take it apart, and I'm just going to clean the volume control, and then we'll hook it up to some speakers and see how it performs. But it sounds like that's all that's wrong with this thing. So let's crack this thing open and see the build quality of this Marantz. Let's get the screws out of the unit. I'm trying to get through a bunch of stuff that was brought in, and I haven't had time over the last little bit of time, the last few weeks, because I've been putting in a lot of overtime shifts at work, so I haven't had time to make any videos. But we are getting closer to winter. I really would like my garage back to park my car in, so I got to get through all this stuff here and see what's wrong with it. But this one's going to be a nice simple one. So let's just take a look at this thing. Let's look at the different sections of this amp, because this one doesn't have really much of anything wrong with it. So this unit is what they call a dual mono design. In other words, you have two identical amplifiers, this one being the left channel, and the right channel's on the other side over there. The right channel's here in behind the power supply. And we've got a couple of main filters here for the power supply, and another main filter. Typically the way that Marantz built units is they had a separate power supply for the outputs and one to power all of the inputs. There's actually another power supply down over here for the low voltage, and here's a low voltage regulator. So they have one big transformer, but they had multiple power supplies for the different sections. And I don't think we have any issues with this power supply. The only issue on this one here is the volume control. So to access the volume control, I need to get to the bottom of the unit. So I'm going to turn it on its side. We're going to remove the bottom plate. So here's something that some people may or may not have known about the old Marantz. They were actually a division of Electrohome Canada. Here's the Electrohome sticker with the model name, Marantz 2230. This one was not made in Canada like the other Electrohome, which I'll be servicing at a future date. It's mine. This is a Japanese made one, but again, Marantz was a name that was owned by Electrohome, and it's got their sticker on it. Electrohome was a Canadian brand. They used to build a lot of stuff in Canada. They used to build a lot of TVs and amplifiers and stuff in Canada. This particular unit, though, as you can see, if we look on the back here, it's made in Japan. Marantz was actually designed in the States, but the Canadian distribution was owned by Electro-Home. That's why the Electro-Home sticker there. So we'll take the bottom off it so that I can access the controls. I think that screw's got to come out. I'm pretty sure the feet have to come off this thing. It's been a while since I've opened up one of these units. So there's a view inside the bottom. Here's our input selector switch. And our bass mid-range is here in treble. That's the circuit board for the bass, mid-range, and treble. I love it how they just put a little piece of cardboard here to prevent any shorts, even though it is separated physically from the bottom. Just to make sure that nothing sags down or nothing gets in between and shorts it out, they actually put a little piece of cardboard in there to prevent any short circuits. We have our balance control down here, and this is the volume, and this is the one that's noisy. As I said, all the rest of the controls, I don't hear any noise whatsoever, so I'm not even going to bother giving them a shot of cleaner. Just the volume control needs to be cleaned on this. This is more of a restoration project for a client, and he doesn't want to spend a lot of money on this thing, so a basic repair. I'm not changing any caps on it. This one here, the only thing I need to do is clean the volume control. I grab my cleaner and we'll get that control clean. It's nice and easy to clean this unit. Just get in here with the neutral spray and just spray it down. And same with this other control here. And then we'll just rotate the control several times. And then I'll plug it in again and take a listen to the sound with the headphones. And then we'll hook up some speakers and test it with speakers. Sounds good. I'll let you hear it from the speakers. It'll sound pretty good off the headphones with the headphone right over top of the microphone here. As you can hear, no static at all, no noise. Let's get some speakers hooked up to this thing. Okay, now that we've got the unit hooked up to the speakers, let's just test it. Looks like it's working. Okay, and tone controls work. Everything's working there. Let's flip the station and see what else we can get here. I don't even have an antenna connected with this thing. I would have to say it's working. Now, we'll test a few of the other inputs. I'll hook up a turntable and test that. I noticed that someone else has done some modifications to this thing in the past. Take a look at this. So someone blew a fuse, and rather than put a new solder in a fuse, they just soldered in a holder and did that. Through the magic of television, my turntable magically appears. Yes, this is the Akai direct drive that I fixed. Let's see how it sounds. Oh yes, I know the record's all scratched and hacked. That's about how I treated my records in 1976. Especially when I don't know, when I was probably about, I guess I would have been about 13, I guess, when I got this. I was given this record, this theme to Star Wars, which would have been my favorite movie back in 1976. And I think it was 76. Was that the year Star Wars came out? 77. It would have been 77. So I would have been like 13, 14, something like that. Anyway, all I could talk about was Star Wars this, Star Wars that, Star Wars this, and either for my birthday or for Christmas or something, some relative bought me the Star Wars soundtrack. And boy, was I in for a disappointment when I listened to the music, you know, because, I mean, at the time, the hit thing on the radio was the version of the Cantina Band by a band called, I think it was Miko. Anyway, it was like a techno version of it. It wasn't the movie version of the song, and I remember playing this record, and I was so disappointed that I was given classical music, and that's essentially what it is: symphonic classical music. So I didn't treat this record very nice, and yes, I do have other records. In my record cabinet, I have a bunch of records, but they're all packed away. I haven't used vinyl. I digitized all my vinyl records years and years and years ago, and everything's on my server, and I put vinyl away, and personally I don't see what all the big deal is about vinyl. I guess some people might feel in their opinion that it sounds better than digital. Maybe it does sound better than highly compressed digital, but I would argue that point that it sounds better than a good digital recording. Everyone's got their own opinions, but I still like the crisp, clean sound of a good digital recording, and I'll leave it at that, because I can get into long, drawn-out arguments with people about the sound quality of vinyl. It's the same as you can get into long, drawn-out arguments about the picture quality of plasma versus LCD, or the sound quality of transistors versus tubes. That's another one that you'll never end that battle. And I'm a tube guy. I like the sound of tubes, so I'm one to argue for the sound of tubes over solid state. But anyway, this thing, despite all the scratches, this thing works great. This turntable works great. This amplifier worked great. I can get it off my bench and move on to the next one. Thanks for watching.